Welcome, everybody. This is an exciting morning for us. We're sitting here in Richardson, basking in the sun. And last week we had ice here, we had snow here, and maybe tomorrow we'll have rainfall. That's the curveballs that the Texas weather throws at us, but it's an amazing place to be at. You would rather want curveballs of nature than any other thing that is out there, because things in Richardson, things at UT Dallas, things in the School of Management are always exciting. We'd like to welcome you all from wherever you are joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. But we are thrilled, and we are thrilled for a lot of reasons. The number one reason for us to be excited and thrilled is that you all have decided to take that step forward. It's a major step. It's a life-changing step. A lot of us have taken that. I myself, as an alum of the Jindal School of Management, once took that step, and I know how exciting this journey is. Some of you might already have an admission letter in your hands. Congratulations for that. And some of you might still be waiting for that. You do see that light right there, the candle waiting for you so that you can pick it up and move forward in your journey. But one question that looms over all of this is, will I be able to pay for it? Do I have the financial independence in terms of paying for my tuition, my living expenses, etc.? Can I do it? And those questions will be answered today in this session. Our goal is to help you go through different scenarios, illustrations of what our students look like. And we want to tell you how it is possible, how you can make it work right here at the Jindal School of Management. But before we get into the details of it, I would love to introduce my co-presenter, my colleague, the Senior Associate Dean and the Grad Dean of the Jindal School of Management, Dr. Monica Powell.
Oh, Gaurav, thank you so much for that warm introduction and welcome of our future students and alumni for the Jindal School of Management. I think that one of the unique things that we really try to help students with is to help them realize that they can literally finance their way through a graduate degree without bearing an enormous burden after they graduate. We have seen students that didn't have a lot of financial resources make the impossible happen, and that's the norm. That's not unusual for us. That is the norm. It is so exciting to watch our students who either combine scholarships with loans, with teaching assistantships, with internships, combine all of these things together. And within a year of graduation, they've paid off whatever it is that they borrowed to go through a program. So I'm really excited. I'm really excited that Gaurav has put this session together. Last year we ran this session, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but we had literally thousands of students that have watched this, that have learned that, wow, this is really possible for me. I come from a little village in Singapore or India or Pakistan or Nigeria, and I truly can do this by combining all of these financial propositions together and really being proactive and letting you manage the financial as opposed to letting the financial manage you. So I'm going to pitch it back over to Gaurav. He's going to wrap a bow around this topic and talk about all of the options that are out there and how our students have done it remarkably, which is why I think this is a very popular destination for international students, is because they know that they're not only going to get a top-notch degree, great opportunities to practice in internships and CPTs, and the best of opportunities to go out and land that H-1B job and be able to fund this in a way that it doesn't paralyze them or their families. So I'm going to pitch it back to Gaurav. Gaurav, you take it away. Let's hear what this strategy is and inspire these students who've already been admitted or hoping to be admitted in the next few weeks about how to do it themselves.
Absolutely, Dr. Powell. And before we get into the details, a shout out to our colleague, Norma Rodriguez, who's a senior academic project manager here and helps us with so many different things. A lot of behind the scenes work is crafted by Norma and her team. So thank you for helping us again, Norma, with this webinar. We'll move to the next slide here. So when we have an admission in hand or we are thinking about pursuing a degree, and I'm going from a point of view that you all decided to choose the Jindal School or even think about the Jindal School. So you're all smart people. So you can do this in a very smart way. We just have to be strategic about this. That's the key. Expenses will be there, of course, for every great thing that is out there in the world. there is some kind of cost. It could be time, it could be money, it could be something else, but there is always something associated. For you to go to school, get your degree, yes, definitely there are expenses. But if we navigate through those expenses in a smart manner, and we can do that. One of the things that I personally, as somebody who paid tuition in this very building, it seemed very impossible. And as we move forward, there were more and more avenues that I was introduced to through which I could make it possible. And this is just not me saying. Thousands and thousands of alums of UT Dallas, of the Jindal School of Management, from the programs that you're going to pursue, they will attest to this fact that it is doable. So if we have to break down the expenses, let's think about what are your top expenses that you will incur as a student here in the School of Management. The number one expense definitely is going to be your tuition. Tuition will depend on a lot of things like the credits that you take per semester. So one of the things about our programs is, and this is by the state law, that as the number of credits go up, the per credit hour fee goes down. There are tuition caps, which means that after certain credits, you don't pay additional tuition for those courses in that semester. So those are some of the things through which you can navigate how many courses you should be taking in a semester. Now, we are not in no way telling you to take too many courses so that you reduce the cost, but you increase the academic burden that you have in that semester over you. You don't need to do that. But that's a strategy that some of the students do resort to. Your Texas residency is very important. And this is there for any institution in the US. They always have two scales. One is for the residents of that state and the other one for people who are not residents. And when I say non-residents, it means you could be you're talking about UT Dallas in Texas. You could be a resident of California, or you could be a resident of New Delhi. You're categorized the same way because you're not a Texas resident. So your Texas residency really makes a lot of difference. Scholarships. We have a lot of great scholarships, and the one that a lot of incoming students apply for is the Dean's Excellence Scholarship in the School of Management. That also changes the way your tuition looks like. If you get that, and in a few minutes, we'll have Dr. Powell talk about scholarships in more details, but scholarships give you the ability to change the way you pay your tuition, which means your ability to pay your tuition. So let's say you are an out-of-state student and you ended up getting the Dean's Excellence Scholarship. You also become eligible to pay the in-state tuition rates for 2 long semesters. And here is fun fact, trivia. Not a good trivia to know, but the Texas rates versus the non-resident rates, the difference is about 2 times. But there are ways through which we can minimize the cost, we can bring the cost down, and that's what we're going to talk about. The other difference, and this is a slight difference in the way your tuition is assessed, is if you take an online class, there are some additional fees associated with it. Not a whole lot, but then still, it's a slight expense. So the thumb rule is the number of credits that you take, that's the one that determines what kind of tuition you would be paying. So for example, let's say, and you will never do this, but let's put this as an illustration. You take 1 credit. The cost of 1 credit is $2,500. So you would say the per credit hour rate is $2,500. That's a lot. You take 2 credits, they will now cost you $3,900, about $4,000. What's the per credit hour tuition rate? $2,000. You suddenly saw a reduction by $500 per credit hour. Like that, as you increase, now it doesn't reduce in multiples of 500, but as you take more credits, the per credit hour rate goes down. The other thing is there are some of our programs that are self-funded programs. They have a flat tuition structure. So if you are part of any of those programs, you would see that there is a flat fee that you incur with regards to what kind of a resident you are, whether you're a Texas resident or non-Texas resident. And the best way to navigate those expenses is also to talk to your program directors about, okay, what will it cost for me to take courses in your program? And here is what my plan looks like. So there are ways to assess it. What we are trying to help you here is we want to, at the end of this session, and when you sit with this, and you'll all get a recording of this, you should be in a better position to accurately estimate what it'll cost you. When somebody says, oh, the range is about $50,000 to $80,000, that's not a range. That's speculation, because that's a very big number out there. We want you to be able to be at a point where you say, okay, plus minus $5,000, this is the number that I would need to pursue my degree.
Gaurav, let me jump in for just a second and put some context around your thumb rule. The bulk of our students who come into our programs are taking 9 credit hours a semester. So you can pretty much count on that. And the master's degrees are 36 credit hours. You'll take 37. So that's when you get online and you look at the university's tuition calculator, and we have a great tuition calculator, an estimator of what your cost might be per semester, you're gonna put in typically 9 credit hours, except your first semester when you put in 10. And then it's going to calculate for you what that would cost. That won't factor in a scholarship or a TA-ship or an internship money that you have. But typically, you're going to be enrolled in 9 credit hours. An international student, F1 student, is required to be enrolled in 9 hours. So when you're playing around with those numbers and trying to, accurately guess that cost, that's the minimum number that you would put in to a tuition calculator on the UT Dallas website to estimate what your cost would be for tuition.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And again, 3 courses, 9 credits. It's a very doable load. That is something that international students have to, but we see students add up a couple more courses on top of it. Every semester is going to be different for you. Whether it's your first semester or a semester when you're pursuing that fabulous internship that requires you to focus on the work and you take less number of courses, the key behind this is there is a lot of flexibility in the way you can complete your degree at the School of Management. One of the things that we take a lot of pride in is the flexibility, because we don't tell you that you have to take ABC in your first semester, then D, E, F in the second semester. You can say, oh, I would like to go with A and maybe E and F to start with, because that's what I feel is what I need in my first semester to grow those kind of skill sets. And that really helps in the way you end up taking courses that affects your tuition. Can we go to the next slide? All right, another big expense, but a very important expense, health insurance. We want you to be healthy. The ideal scenario is I don't have to ever use my health insurance. That's the best thing. You stay healthy, you'd never have to use it. However, you want to be insured. You want to be secured, because medical costs in the US, they can skyrocket. And you never know that what kind of incident happens. It could be just starts with a fever and then there is something else which is more serious, and that requires you to cover your hospital expenses, your medical expenses, pharmacy expenses, all of those things. So health insurance is an absolutely vital and important thing. You can't do without it. Can we waive it? Absolutely. If you can show proof of it, equivalent insurance that has equivalent coverage, UTD does. We look at it and we do offer you waivers. But as somebody who subscribes to this particular plan, it's a top-notch plan that the university has crafted for our students. And I would strongly recommend that don't look for substitutes rather than just take it, because this is an investment in securing. You want to make sure that you're not running after hospitals paying bills, and you're using that time to study, network with people, do your internships, participate in competitions. So go with the UT Dallas insurance, but if you want to get it waived, there is a way to do that. And the supplemental fee, depending on the number of credit hours you take every semester, there is an additional $100 per credit hour fee that you have to pay for whatever credits you're taking in that particular semester. Moving on. All right, books. Who doesn't like books? We have lots of reading that you will do, thousands and thousands of pages that you will end up reading. Some courses may require books, so that is an expense. Our faculty are very smart in terms of providing materials. They will make sure that they use resources that also minimize your cost in a way. They will not go and say, well, go ahead and buy these books worth $2,000 every semester, but they will try to give you materials that may not cost you a lot. We have a great library through which you can subscribe to a lot of books and materials, papers, etc. But here and there may be a requirement for you to buy a textbook. So textbooks are going to be something. Calculators, again, they're not very expensive, but still, it's a quant heavy program. A lot of programs that we have here require things like stats and all. So you might need calculators, clickers for quizzes, some online subscriptions. So let's say Harvard Business Review. There are lots of great cases, and your instructor wants to use it. It's a few dollars. Those kind of things might be an expense for you. But believe it or not, our school provides a lot of free academic access to students to amazing resources like DataCamp, Coursera. We are doing Google certificates now. All of these are a cost, depending on what they are, anywhere from $20, $30 to $400, $500 a semester. That could be a cost. But because you're a student of the Jindal School, that's free for you. So like that, there are subscriptions, a lot of them that are available for you for free, but here and there you might end up purchasing something. But let's say if I have to put all of these expenses together, an average estimate would be between $1,000 to $1,500 for the entire program. It's very difficult to go beyond that because the kind of resources available now, we always try to minimize the cost for our students. Moving on, Norma. Now, some of you might need letters for your banks or any financial institution that you are trying to get a loan from. And they might say, well, tell us what the estimate is, get it in writing from your institution. We don't want to be that bottleneck. We don't want you to be waiting for our email responses, even though we sometimes play email ninja, or email pong, that you send us an email and we respond back quickly. But we don't want you to be dependent on us. So we have this wonderful website that the Bursar's office has put together. The link is right there. You go there, they'll ask you a few questions like, what's your residency, how many credits you're taking, what semester it is, stuff like that, and it'll create a tuition estimate with the UTD header on it so that you can submit it to your institution. You may also need it for your own planning. So we want to make sure you have this available at your disposal, and that's the link to go to get this estimate, the letter. Norma? All right, the big numbers, the big important slide. Okay, you've talked about all these things, but what's the number? The numbers right in front of you are real numbers. They have been taken from the latest tuition calendar that we have. As I said, the residency and the number of credits are the two very important things that determines what you end up paying. So the scenarios that we have, which we'll get into in a few minutes, will take into account what's the tuition. So if you are, and I'm doing this, basing it off 9 credits in a semester, in-state tuition, about $8,500. Out of state for the same number of credits is about $15,500. Your health insurance is close to $1,400, and then let's say miscellaneous fee, like there's an international student fee, etc., about $300 a semester. Living expenses, again, this is a lifestyle expense. You like, subscribing to the most expensive gyms, or you like dining out, well, expenses will go up. You're somebody who looks for great events on campus, uses the Comet cupboard, which provides you with all the good items to sustain you, you'll have less expenses. You want to live in a 2-bedroom apartment by yourself, that'll be more expensive, but we are just basing it off, let's say it's about $1,000 a month. And one thing about financial planning, remember for yourself, always try to inflate the need. You don't want to have a number which falls below what your actuals will look like. You always want to plan for more. So let's say about $1,000 is what you want to give yourselves. This will include your rent, which will be the biggest portion of this. Any utilities like internet, phone bills, etc., gas, water, all that stuff. Then maybe you need some money for yourself as well. So put all that together, it's about $1,000 for 5 months, which is the length of a long semester. It's about $5,000. So when we put all of this together, the top number, and we have not put any scholarship, we have not put any teaching assistantship, anything here. The top number for a Texas resident is going to be about $61,000. The top number for an out-of-state resident is going to be about $89,000, $90,000. What we'll do now is we'll try to take these numbers and we'll try to put this into the different personas of students that we have and see what is the financial need, the actual financial need after all the the bells and whistles and all the discounts that you get through scholarships or teaching assistantships, or even things like on-campus jobs, your internships. How does that help? Norma, can we go to the next slide? All right. So some avenues that are available to you right from day one. An on-campus job is available to all students from the first day of the semester. It doesn't mean that it's already ready. You'll have to apply for it. You'll have to apply. You'll have to get selected. And if you get picked up, you get paid anywhere between $10 to $12 an hour. That's more for most of the jobs. So let's say that's about $450, $500 a month. If you become a teaching assistant, that's about $1,000 after taxes. If you're doing an internship, what you've seen across all of our programs, that the average pay is about $23 an hour, but we've seen in the last couple of semesters, it has started to hit numbers like 28, 29, 30 on average. We have scholarships out here, and I would at this moment would just turn it to Dr. Powell to talk a little bit in depth about scholarships and how they can help.
I think, Gaurav, and thank you for that broad overview of how the expenses look across all the categories. I think the number one email that we all respond to is queries about scholarships. And we are a generous institution in that we offer a lot of incoming student scholarships that a lot of our international students are awarded. And the greatness about that scholarship is that it converts that tuition that you would pay as an out-of-state non-resident to an in-state rate. So you're saving about half the cost of tuition. So of course, these are incredibly popular. So I want to just mention a few things about the scholarship application process because it's changed just a little bit in the last cycle. Now we will offer incoming new student scholarships for this fall. The deadline to do that is May 1. And that's not a negotiable deadline. It is May 1. And the other thing that is really important for a student to remember is that when you apply for the scholarship, there are two separate parts to the application. You first go to our website where you complete the scholarship application, really short, really quick. You can do it in 5 minutes. Then you will get a confirmation email that will go both to your personal email and your UT Dallas email. And it will tell you, please complete part 2. The committee will not consider an applicant that hasn't done part 1 and part 2 of the scholarship application. Then there are a couple of other factors that are a requirement as well. The committee's not going to look at a student unless they've been admitted and unless they have submitted an official GMAT or GRE score. It can't be an unofficial, it must be an official, which means you have to have reached out to ETS or GMAC and had them send the official score electronically to the university. Now, there are a lot of students who might have been admitted using a GMAT GRE waiver. Well, that's great for the admissions purpose, but if you want to be considered for a scholarship, you must sit and take the exam and submit that to the school so that you can be considered for a scholarship, because we will not consider you unless you've been admitted and you have an active GMAT or GRE score on file. So the thing that I think is also really important is students want to know, how in the heck does the committee decide? Well, we use a holistic process, which means we're looking at every single thing you submit in the application process. We look at your undergraduate GPA, we look at the recommendations, we look at the essays, we look at your performance, your undergraduate major, your resume, your statement of purpose, the whole process looks at everything, including that GMAT and GRE score, and then the committee will make decisions. So we have lots of students apply. We love to give away lots of money to help our students out. And we award competitively, which means that we are awarding on a rolling basis. So every week we go in and we look at the students that have applied. We look for the most competitive ones and make decisions about whether or not we're going to award. That means that the less competitive students will not hear anything from us until the end, because of course we're going to respond to how competitive the pool is as we move through the cycle. So we've already made awards for this fall. I think later today we'll be making another set of awards, and we do it almost every week, about every 10 days. We are going in and looking for the highly talented students for which to make awards to. And we also have a scholarship email box for which we direct all scholarship questions. So please use that box, email box, and Norman can put that into the chat so you can have that if you have questions about the scholarship process. So don't forget, official deadline is May 1. We never extend it. You have to be admitted, and you have to have submitted an official GMAT or GRE score, and you have to have completed both parts of the scholarship application process in order to be considered by the committee. We hope all of you will take advantage of this option. Now, this will award a student 2 consecutive semesters, 2 consecutive long semesters, a fall and spring, of in-state tuition. We also, just so you know, we also have continuing students awards. So that means that if you get one the first semester, you can always apply for another one the second semester. These are not renewables. You cannot renew this particular scholarship. You actually have to apply again for the second semester, for the second year. And we will award Dean's Excellence, we will award impact scholarships, we award donor scholarships to continuing students. So there are lots of opportunities, and this is one big way to reduce the overall costs of coming to UT Dallas. And it gives us great joy to know that we're making this possible for so many international students. So Gaurav, I'm going to pop it back to you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Powell. That was indeed an in-depth explanation about our process, and that does help our students a lot, because a lot of times these questions are there in their minds as to what it takes for them to get these scholarships, or what does the committee really look at. And one thing I can assure you all, there is one way through which you cannot get a scholarship, and that is by not applying. Please do not tell yourself that you're not good enough, or don't try to doubt your profile. You never know, because you don't know what the pool looks like. And that's the job of our committee, to make that decision whether you are there to get a scholarship or not. However, just talking from a financial perspective, the benefits of the scholarship. Now, the Dean's Excellence Scholarship does give you $1,000. You get it as a scholarship discount right there. But on top of it, the bigger advantage is that if you are an out-of-state student, if you're a non-Texas resident, whether it is any other state in the US or international students, you end up getting the ability to pay in-state tuition rates. A moment ago, we saw that the difference for 9 credits between an in-state and out-of-state was about $8,000. So depending on how many credits you take, per semester, per long semester, you're saving close to $8,000 to $9,000. Add the $1,000 that you get on top of it, you're looking at about $16,000, $18,000 worth of tuition savings, just because you have the scholarship. You perform well, you do well, there might be an extension. You have to apply for it again, as Dr. Powell mentioned, but you can literally have all semesters that you study at UTD on a scholarship. We will look through those profiles as well. Another great option, and one of the biggest, I would say this is the backbone of your, if I could personify your financial strength, this is the backbone, and that's your education loan. Now, there is nothing wrong with an education loan. It gives you the financial ability to take care of your expenses while you're going to school. One thing to keep in mind is this financial challenge that the tuition and the whole expense piece of getting this degree brings in, it's very temporary. You have to remind yourself of that. This is not something that you're going to sign up for decades and decades of repayment. That is not what happens with our students. Time and again, we have seen our students pay back their education loans. Take it, number one, get their degree, and they pay it back in a record time. Fun fact for all of you, UT Dallas is ranked number 1 in the state of Texas when it comes to the return on investment. And several programs in the School of Management stand there right at the top in terms of how quickly you can get payback. Dr. Powell mentioned a few minutes ago in our opening that there are students who sometimes pay back in a year. And that's not just 1 or 2 instances here and there. The kind of money our students make, the kind of profiles they get into, the kind of jobs they get into, the industry recognizes a UT Dallas degree with a lot of respect. They have high regards for our students, and that's what gives them those fat paychecks that help them pay back their loans very easily.
You know, Gaurav, I
Yes.
just want to kind of jump in here. I think one remarkable characteristic of Jindal students is that they're very gritty. Now, that may not be a word that you use often um, in your home country, but to be gritty means that you're willing to make short-term sacrifices for long-term gains. So I will tell you that when I was in graduate school and my husband was in law school, we barely lived off of any money. We cut every corner we could to make it possible so that when we graduated, we had little debt that we would have to pay off over a lifetime of career. So when I see students who right after graduation, pile up 5 in an apartment and they live on little and they sacrifice in a year and then they're done and they've landed some 90 or $100,000 salary, and they pay it off in a year or 2 years and they make that short-term sacrifice while they're young. I mean, that's what true talent is made of. Those are the people that are going to be willing to make the sacrifices in their career and be willing to roll up their sleeves and just get it done. And I have great respect for that. And when I hear our students tell those stories, I find that to be a remarkable, common characteristic that students will do. We have students who come, and as students, they don't get internet access in their apartment. They practically live in the library where they've got constant internet access and they do their work there, or they come here in the school and they're here at all hours of the night. There are ways that you can get through. When you're young, you can do just about anything. So I stand in awe, remarkable awe, of all of our students who combine, all of these options or some of these options and just have changed the whole trajectory of their future and quite often their family's future by just having grit.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Powell. And yes, if you end up being in our library, a lot of times, don't worry about our libraries. We don't have cold benches. We have very nice, comfortable cushion seats there to help you. Norma, can we move to the next one? All right. So when we talk about at the end of, let's say, through a variety of ways, through internships, through on-campus jobs, through whatever means that you're using to pay off. At the end of your degree, and these are all averages, we see that the average liability is about $40,000 that students have. And using $80,000, again, we're not trying to inflate our salaries, we're trying to deflate them, even though we know our averages are more. But that's the beauty of planning. You always plan for a more extreme situation where you are spending more, but you're earning less. That'll help you really make a very solid plan. So based on, let's say, $80,000 a month, which is about an annum, which is about $6,700 a month. After taxes, it's about $5,400. You're paying back at the rate of $1,000 a month. You're looking at an average payoff time of about 3.5 years. Any banking institution, any financial institution that gives you a loan will give you a period of anywhere between 7 to 20 years to pay off. Even when we are looking at the fastest payoff rate that these institutions will give you, you're still cutting it into half. And that is because of the kind of salaries that students get after they graduate from the program. Most of our students are not even hitting that 3.5. They're doing it in about 2.5 years, 3 years max. And we are seeing the rise in the number of students who are now actually paying it off within a year as well. So those are all great signs, and great signs to tell you that you got to be here at UT Dallas if you want to experience these kind of things. Norma? So let's look at the first type of persona that we may have. We have an out-of-state student who has about $89,000 in terms of their expenses, which includes tuition, living, and all the other miscellaneous expenses. They don't get any scholarship. There's no internships. There's no on-campus jobs. My strong recommendation is this should be your way to kind of estimate what your worst need would be, what your top end would be. And then you decide on taking an education loan of $60,000. So you still got about $29,000 that you have to cover at the end. and you're graduating in about 4 long semesters, which is about 22 months of time. So your overhead is $29,000 that you have to pay for. Now this $29,000, how do you pay for it? You have your savings, you have your sponsors, it could be your parents, siblings, friends, whoever it is. And now you start factoring that, okay, if I insert, let's say, an internship into this or an on-campus job into it, okay, if that happens, how will this expense, which is $29,000 at the end of the degree, will look like? So you have to go from a point where there is no support to you slowly and slowly adding numbers to your calculation. Let's see another illustration here to see somebody who may have a different situation. Now, you did not receive a scholarship in year one. While you were coming to UT Dallas as an incoming student, you did not, but you persevered. The grit that Dr. Powell is talking about, you ended up with all your hard work, you got a scholarship in year two, and you were able to get the ability to pay the in-state tuition rates. Now your expenses, total expenses, not 89,000. With the support that you got through the in-state tuition for the second year, it comes down to 71,000. But you also were an on-campus worker. You were a student worker in one of our offices for 2 semesters, and you earned about $4,000 there. And you did well, and you got an internship as well. One of our partners picked you up, and that was about $35,000 in your wages as an intern. At the end of the day, your actual overhead at the end of the program is about $32,000. But guess what? We didn't even factor the education loan. You had an education loan of $60,000. Your need at the end of the program was 32. You have almost $28,000 left unused in your education loan account. So do you see, there is no one thing that worked for you? There were multiple things. Support in the second year from a tuition perspective, on-campus job in the first year, an internship in the second semester. We have a lot of students who fall into this bucket, and it's totally possible to go this way. And again, you see, you got an education loan, but you didn't have to use the whole amount. Let's see another illustration here of another student who's out of state. Now, this student did not receive any scholarship in year one, but got a scholarship in year two. It's just like the second illustration that we just talked about. So 71,000 is the need. But instead of being an hourly student worker in the second semester, this person was selected to be a TA. The School of Management employs lots of TAs. Like, it's a whole army of TAs that we have, because the number of courses we offer requires an army of TAs. This person is able to earn about $7,000, which includes the monthly wages, as well as the fun fact is that all our TAs, their health insurance is also paid by the school. So that's about $7,000 right there that this person earns. Now, because you're a TA, you will also get the tuition benefit as an in-state resident. So that's another $8,000 that you're getting in tuition reduction. And let's say in your first semester, you ended up getting, or your third semester, you became an on-campus worker. That's about $5,000 in total, multiple semesters. You ended up interning. That's another $35,000, and I'm basing it off our averages that we talked about, the $23 an hour. Your actual need at the end of the day is only $16,000. And we still did not factor your education loan that you came in with that gave you about $60,000. So guess what? You're again not using more than $40,000 from your education loan. One thing that you have to keep in mind about all these illustrations is when you start off, you don't see this number of 16,000, like in this case, it is $16,000. You don't see that number immediately because there are a lot of ifs and buts. But as you move along in your programs, you will see that that number becomes more and more clear as to what your eventual need would be. What we are trying to say here is, the actual overheads that we're talking about, is really the actual money outside of any of the support that you've got through your jobs, internships, your tuition benefits that you really need to bring to get this degree at UT Dallas. So see, it's not 71,000, it's not 89,000, it's about 16, 20, $25,000 that you need to cover. Let's see another illustration here. An out-of-state student who got a scholarship in the first year, did well, applied for the second year and got it the second time as well. So their tuition was from whatever the top number was, about 89, it came down to about $57,000. That is their tuition as well as their living expenses. Let's say in this time they became an on-campus worker, got about $4,000 there. They did their internship, $35,000. Again, at the end of it, their actual overhead was only about $18,000. They had a big pot of $60,000 for their education loan, and they only needed about 18. Now, it's not like that, oh, I only need $18,000 and I have 60 from my loan, so I just need to take that 18 out. You might end up taking more out. But what you do is you start paying back your education loan even when you have not done your degree, because you've got this internship that is giving you enough money so that you can pay a portion back. This number of the last but one number, the actual overhead, is what you eventually see on the day of your graduation. And guess what? It's not something that's left for you to pay because you already would have paid it using your education loan. Let's see another illustration here, and I think that's the last one that we have. This is if you're an in-state student, you have Texas residency, your expenses will look in the range of about $62,000. You got an on-campus job that gave you some money, your internship. Again, your overhead is also in that ballpark figure of about $20,000. You yourself can get an education loan if you are a Texas resident. And again, you see 2/3 of your loan is unused because you have other mediums through which you paid for it. Let's move on. There are certain do's and don'ts that we need to be very aware of in this process. We sometimes try to overestimate things, overthink stuff. We try to stay too positive about our expenses. One thing that you as a planner needs to know is we need to always plan for our worst case scenario. So some of these, which I feel that you should all know about, is do not plan your finances using the best case scenario. Don't tell yourself, oh, I will go there, I'll get my first on-campus job in the first week, and then I'll definitely become an intern and I'll have this. No, that's not the way you plan. You hope that it happens, but you plan for what if none of this happens. So illustration 1 really is the one that you need to plan for. The second thing is, a lot of times, and this could be a little cultural as well sometimes, people are shy about going and asking for an education loan. Don't feel shy about it. It's not, it doesn't, it's not against your dignity or anything that, oh, how can I go to a financial institution to ask for a loan? You are trying to add to the financial strength, that independence that we talked about. That's what this loan does for you. Your financial situation is a temporary discomfort, and an education loan helps you deal with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Almost every student, international student that pursues a degree at UT Dallas, almost all of them have a loan. Depending on wherever they went for a loan, they could have got different amounts, but everybody goes for that. If you have personal savings and you have an option to take a loan, take that loan. Keep your personal savings with you because, there could be another situation in your family where you need money. Your education loan is designed to pay for your education. They might not be used for any personal exigency that you may have. So keep your savings to yourself as much as possible. Go for this loan. Do not feel obligated to start paying back your loan in the very first semester. We have heard a lot of times when students say, oh, I want to help my parents, I want to take the burden off and I want to make sure that it is paid back. You know what? That's a great thing. I myself would do that. All of us would do that for our families. We would want to keep that burden away from them. But remember, your families know that you're doing this for a reason. Your families support you. I am sure if you talk to your, a lot of times we hear that, I want to help my parents. Your parents have sent you out so that you can get this degree, make your life better, have a great career, all those things. And they know it. So they're not really expecting you to send them money back right the minute you step your foot on campus here. Some of the things you should do is do your research about the loan options that you have. Check the rates of interest. Check if there is any capability for you to extend that loan in case you need more money for whatever reason. Okay, check out, there are other students who are going to UT Dallas. What kind of loans are they going for? And there are tons of WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, Facebook groups, lots of groups. Ask that question, from where they're taking these loans. A lot of times you don't have to be in the same city. I mean, things are very digital these days. You could be in a very far off city from where the banking institution is, and they will still give you a loan. Do know about the collateral free options. The reason is because there are a ton of them which don't need cosigners, they don't need collateral. Keep that collateral as the last option. Don't just offer it to an institution saying that, hey, take my house and give me a loan. They will take it, but you want to make sure that you don't put yourself in a spot where you're offering them a collateral when you could have gone collateral free. See, it reduces the pressure. And sometimes this is what we have seen is when students try to extend their loans and they've already used collateral, that's a hindrance in terms of extension, because now the bank, which has already received some collateral from you, has that expectation that you will pledge more things to them. Also evaluate your family's situation. Now there are things we cannot really guess as to how things will be in the future. But at this point of time, if doing a degree doesn't put your family there could be some very important events that are happening in your family. You want to be mindful of that. Again, this is doable, but if you have to choose between your own personal situation and doing a degree, and maybe sometimes it makes more sense to maybe defer it by a semester and then pursue it, do evaluate that situation, because you don't want to be in a spot where you've come to the US and within a week you're like, my family needs $30,000, $40,000, and I don't know what to do, I'm here. So evaluate those situations, and definitely if you want to discuss it with your program directors, do that, because they have a lot of experience in terms of dealing with similar cases, and they might offer recommendations. We always have students who sometimes, when a personal situation happens, your ability to think and make decisions, it diminishes because you're emotional at that moment. But there are a lot of people out there who can help you manage those emotions and also come up with a better plan. So my recommendation is, please do take a stock of your personal situation as well before you invest the time and energy into doing a degree. Can we go to the next one? The mantra. It is possible. It is possible. It was possible for me to do a degree at UT Dallas. Dr. Powell discussed about how she did it, went to graduate school. Norma has her story, and thousands and thousands and thousands of us have the same story. It is possible here at the School of Management. There is no way, again, unless we just kaboomed the whole plan and we decided to go with all the wrong numbers and everything, well, that's a different situation. But it's very possible to pursue this degree. A lot of times I feel the most difficult piece in this whole puzzle is really proving your candidacy for one of our programs. And if you have done that, you have overcome one of the hardest hurdles. After that, there are ways to pursue it, and you'll be able to do it. Next slide. And presenting our official sponsors. No, this is not an official endorsement. We are not endorsing any of these companies, but we want to make you aware of some of the third-party options that our students have used in the past. So GradRide, Prodigy, Avance, Empower, like that. There are lots of non-banking financial institutions. And one of the best things that they do is they often give you a loan which is collateral free. They kind of give you the loan in the range of what you need here at UT Dallas. They also give you a loan in the US not in your home countries, but in the US without a cosigner. And one of the reasons why companies like what you see on screen and several of them that are like them give loans to UT Dallas students is because they know that a graduate from the Jindal School of Management has the financial ability right at the end of their graduation to pay off those loans. These companies have models in which they put schools their profiles, they put the profiles of the students who are graduating from these programs to decide whether should we give a loan to a student who goes to UT Dallas to the School of Management. And in most of these cases, we are one of the preferred schools where they say, yes, we know these students will be good. Compare ourselves to any other institution, there are lots of institutions out there that don't have, their students don't have the same profile at the end of their degree. So definitely an institution saying that UT Dallas students are good and they will pay their loans fast also is an indicator for you that yes, you're in the real thing, and this will definitely help you. Next one. So time for questions, but if you have questions, you can email us at jindal@utdallas.edu. We also have a live chat facility through the JSOM question desk, and JSOM is the Jindal School of Management, if you've not already figured that out. But there are lots of ways to ask questions. We can take a few questions right now, but before we get into that, Dr. Powell, would you like to make any comments here?
Gaurav, I think the only thing that I would say is that I stand in awe of the thousands of students that come here from within the United States, within Texas, and all around the world who have such confidence and such grit and understand that this truly is possible, that you just have to plan, you have to know your limitations, you have to believe in yourself, and there is no greater joy for me, and I think for any member of our faculty here, there's no greater joy than watching those students walk across that stage who know that they have a really great paying job in hand, who have managed to do some of the things that Gaurav suggests. Some have a scholarship, some have a campus job, some have gotten TA-ships, and these students are walking out the door knowing that they made the right choice about school and that they did their homework and were able to make their dream come true. It changes the entire trajectory of their lives, and it is so great to kind of be a part of that story for them. So Gaurav, let's see if Norma wants to pitch some questions. Absolutely. And see if we can answer a few of those. I strongly encourage every student, engage with us. Talk to your program director. We have tons of current students who are going to be willing to talk about their financial journey with prospective students. Just reach out, just ask the questions, and we're going to be devoted to making sure that you get those answers. So Gaurav, I guess we ought to put the magic sauce behind us, which is Norma, and get some of those questions answered.
Absolutely.
So I've been answering quite a few of the questions as they came in, but there was a question that I did see a few times, and it was having to do with internships and doing multiple internships. And some people were surprised about being able to do 2 internships. So I was wondering if you could talk about typically how many internships our international students do and what that looks like.
Hey, I want to jump in before I turn it over to Gaurav. By the way, prospective students, those that are admitted, students can do up to 3 internships. They're up to 3 credit hours of internships. So you can do 3 1 credit hour internships. We have tons of students who do 2, and then a whole lot of them that end up doing 3. And that is an awesome experience because they're able to test out different companies and organizations. They're able to identify where they feel like they're going to be a best fit. Sometimes a student will do 3 consecutive internships with the same company, and at the end of that journey, they've got an OPT offer in their hands, which is really exciting. We have some students that do 3 different companies. Gaurav, can you talk about the percentages? I mean, I talk to oodles of students that do 2, and quite a number that do 3.
Oh, absolutely. I see. One of the things is that a lot of programs in the Jindal School of Management require you to do an internship. So that is another motivating factor for you to do it. I would say that more than 3/4 of our students definitely pursue 1 internship. About 60% of them do 2 internships, and about 50% of them do 3 of them. And one of the good things is that as an international student, you can work on your internship, which is part of your CPT, curricular practical training, for 364 days. And that is 3 semesters, your fall, spring, and your summer. But yes, one thing that you have to also keep in mind is that at the Jindal School, you can also pursue an internship for anywhere between 20 to 40 hours. A lot of companies have kind of enveloped their internships along with their coursework. So students, they end up doing those 40-hour internships, and they might take 1 or 2 classes in that semester. We call it the reduced course load, to just help you deal with the work and your academic balances. But that's totally possible. That's where the flexibility piece comes in. It's not just with our courses in what order you take it, but also with your employers. And sometimes, when students come and say, well, I wanted to go to my dream company, and guess what? My very first internship is with my dream company. And now, several years later, we talked to them and they said, we have not left that company. We started off with them. We did multiple internships. We graduated. We started a full-time job. And by the way, I'm coming back to recruit more people from UT Dallas. I will tell you, this door is not enough for me to get out of this, because we are so swollen with pride when we see these students come back. Norma.
Thank you. I think that is all the time that we have for questions. So I want to give you each some time for some closing remarks.
Absolutely. Well, again, folks, this is a very important moment for all of you. You have decided to move forward in your academic pursuits. We're very thankful that you chose UT Dallas as one of the destinations, and we wish to see you in the next few months here on campus. But remember, this is not just a moment for you. This is not just a moment for us, but this is an exciting journey for all of us. We at UT Dallas, your faculty, students, your peers, and with you, this is a journey for you and your families too. When you graduate from the Jindal School of Management, your families graduate from the Jindal School of Management because they have supported your endeavors to do this. And this is a life-changing moment. When you walk across the stage, and when we do that every semester, it's like we see a story that walks on the stage, shakes the hand with the dean, and walks off, and is going into towards a magical journey that looks forward to them. It may look difficult, it may look very overwhelming, but I hope that somewhere this webinar helps you in calculating what you need to do before you come here to the school in a good, efficient way. You have a lot of support, you have a lot of good advisors that can tell you what's the right way. So please take that step forward. Believe in us, because thousands of students have done that. It's not just us saying it for the heck of saying it. We have people who will concur with us and who will tell you how it was once a challenge for them and how it became possible at the School of Management. Dr. Powell.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gaurav, not only for your leadership with regard to our MS in Business Analytics program. You're an alum of our MS-ITM program, and you are such a supporter of students. And so thank you for putting together this webinar with this information so that students can really tear it apart and really see how this is really more than possible. The Jindal School is a very unique place. We take an individual interest in every single student from the moment that they're admitted to the time that they're in our classrooms, to them doing their TA journey or student work or getting an internship or facing whatever struggle they may be experiencing. We are very committed to each and every student. Making these decisions are personal decisions for you. And we want you to know that this is a really incredible place, and that despite our size and the mammoth number of degree programs that we offer here, we take great joy in getting to know each and every one of you. Thank you for taking your time to be with us. We hope you'll share this webinar link with other prospective students that might be considering the Jindal School. We'll be sending out the recording to all of you and the deck so that you can see those slides. And if you have any questions, reach out. We are more than glad to get those answers back to you. And we thank you so much for taking your time and energy to attend today And we hope that this will help answer and relieve some of that overwhelming, ominous stress that you feel. But it is doable and it is possible, and we hope you'll make that dream come true here. So thanks for being with us today.